Hello, dear students. Welcome to your online English class. I hope you are healthy and happy and taking care of yourself as well as your family members. I also hope you're following the online classes keenly. And remember that your teachers are just a call and a message away. You can reach out to us anytime that you feel the need. We are all in this together. Stay home, stay safe. Today we are about to begin the first lesson from your NCERT English textbook, Flamingo. The name is quite ironical though. The first lesson is called The Last Lesson. It is a short story written by the French writer Alphonse Daudet. Does the title have a positive ring to it or a negative one? The Last Lesson. Don't you feel that you're fortunate enough that even after this lockdown, you're not having to sit at homes with the memories of the last lesson you had in school? No, because you are still meeting your teachers in a different setup, but we haven't lost touch with each other or with studies. Hopefully, we never reach the last lesson and we keep learning. So let us begin. On your screen, you can see 4 questions. Think about them. Do you love your language? Do you like your culture? What makes your country unique and different from all other countries? Well, for the first 2 questions, the majority of you will answer with a unanimous, of course we do. Who doesn't like their language, their culture, the different art forms, the music, the dance, their history? And our country is unique because of these very factors. The culture of India refers collectively to the thousands of distinct and unique cultures of all religions and communities present in India. India's languages, religions, dance, music, architecture, food, and customs differ from place to place within the country. Cultures and traditions are a result of a history that is several millennia old. Like India, all the countries have their own language, dance forms, traditions, and stories to tell. And our identity is born out of our history. I mentioned the word history thrice, right? Okay, so let me take you back in history in the year 1870 and see what was happening in Europe. Did you know that there are 197 countries in the world today? They are all separated by international borders. Here on the screen you can see a part of Europe in an old map. And today our focus is on 2 countries here, the Empire of the French and the Kingdom of Prussia. The Empire of the French here and the Kingdom of Prussia. Can you see how they also share a common border? Well, geographical boundaries result in varying cultures. Even though when 2 countries share boundaries, they have differing cultures and traditions. Even in our own subcontinent, we have so many contrasting cultures. Pakistan and Nepal are 2 countries quite different from each other. They differ in the languages that are spoken there, the cuisine, the dance forms, etc. Try knowing more about the cultures of our neighboring countries. I'm sure you'll end up getting many interesting facts. Coming back to these 2 countries, it was the same with France and Prussia as well. Different nations with differences in customs and traditions. Sometimes neighbors share a cordial relationship with each other, but sometimes they also have few conflicts. So what happened between these two? A war, yes. A war happened between these 2 countries, the Franco-Prussian War, in the year 1870 and 71, which is also the backdrop of this short story that we are about to read. Wars, which are a part of history, right? Do you know why countries fight with each other? As mentioned earlier, conflict, political reasons, economical reasons, even cultural reasons, but the consequences are always disastrous. People lose their lives, loved ones, property, and their identity. Recall the story you read in 11th standard called The Address in your supplementary reader. The war takes away so much from a person. So when a country defeats the other country, they technically annex it, which means to take over and make it their own territory. So they have full freedom to do anything that they want in their annexed country. Then what ensues is the wiping out of the native culture and imposition of the foreign culture. So France was defeated in the Franco-Prussian War in the year 1870-71, and there was a shift in power. The Prussians took over two districts of France, districts of Alsace and Lorraine. There was domination from Germans in France after they won the war. As I said, there was a shift in power, and with that, the Prussians had to assert their power and subjugate the people of France. The capital city, Berlin, started issuing orders that turned the lives of French people upside down. Do you know why it is not so difficult for us to understand the condition of the French people here? Because we have suffered something very similar, of which we have studied in detail in our social science classes. We know the Indians struggled for freedom from the British, and we wanted independence because the Britishers had also abused and exploited Indians and our resources. We were subjected to oppression. We were a British colony. Colonialism, you should know, refers to the conquest and control of other people's lands and goods. The colonial policies made Indians suffer a lot. Their tax policies, discouraging indigenous handicrafts and promoting their own goods, greedy policies of annexing the states of various kings, and various other ways of discriminating the Indians and belittling them. The same things happened in France. Alsace and Lorraine were mining districts, and hence they were exploited for raw materials. Wars and conflicts continued in the region, causing highly unstable peace. Above all, the language of the French people was attacked. The Prussians imposed their language, that is German, to be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. The people of France were thus expected to forget their own language, their native tongue, and learn the language of the new government, that is Germans. People who do not know the language of the government are always looked down upon. To understand this, I will again bring your attention to what happened in India. Like German was imposed on the French people, the English language was imposed on Indians as well as all other colonies of Britain. What does imposing a language do? Well, it does everything. It directly attacks on the identity of the people. So why did the Britishers impose English language on the Indians? If you understand this, then you will be convinced of why it is a crime to impose or force someone to forget their language and learn a new language. The first reason was convenience. The British officials could not understand the regional languages which were spoken in India, and there were so many. If they could teach English to the Indians, it would become easier for them to communicate with the people of India. So the first reason was nothing but convenience. Secondly, the sepoys. The British needed the army as well, and a loyal army. But they feared that if the Indians kept reading the books in their language, they could become traitors. They were scared of them gaining knowledge from Indian books written in Persian and Sanskrit, so they wanted to take that power away from them, the power of reading and learning in their vernacular languages. The Britishers also stated that by teaching the language English, they will be able to instill in the minds of Indians respect and awe for the great Englishmen, and the Indians will also start speaking of English people and English ways with equal enthusiasm. It can be quoted that their plan was to never let the native rise against them. And for this, they took away the most important instrument from them, that is, the native language. Apart from that, the English language was initially termed in India as the Christian tongue, and the motive of teaching English was also to spread Christianity in India and convert the country into a Christian country. The missionaries taught in English, and hence Teaching English would give them the opportunity of transforming India altogether. Macaulay, the British historian and politician who played a major role in the introduction of English and Western concepts to education in India, published his argument on the subject in the Macaulay's Minute in 1835. And he writes, you can see here, Macaulay's Minute on Education. We must at present do our best to form a class who may be interpreters between us and the millions whom we govern, a class of persons Indian in blood and color, but English in tastes, in opinions, in morals, and in intellect. Do you see the strategy of transforming the Indian? This is called linguistic chauvinism. Linguistic chauvinism is the belief that the language one speaks is superior in all terms to all other languages. Now, loving one's tongue is natural, but thinking it or taking it to be the best and superior of all is wrong. That was what happened in France. And this is the background of our little story here, the last lesson. The last lesson has two main characters. A little school-going boy whose name is Franz. He's our narrator as well. It is Franz who is taking us through the story, and M. Amel, where M stands for Monsieur, which is French for Mr. So we can call him Mr. Amel. And we have discussed at length about the setting of the story. It is taking place in the aftermath of the Franco-Prussian War in the French district of Alsace. The story takes place inside a classroom. Let's cover the most important parts of the story in a chronological way. I hope you have done the reading at least once before watching this video and referred to the dictionary for finding the meanings of difficult words. Read the story again after watching this video lesson. So on one fine day, our boy, little Franz, doesn't feel like going to school. There are several reasons for it. The first and foremost is the very common one. He has not done his homework of learning the participles. And of course is apprehensive or scared of getting a scolding from his teacher. But there are plenty of other reasons as well. The day is bright, sunny and warm. Birds are chirping. It is such a beautiful day to be spent outdoors. The German soldiers are doing their military exercises in the field, which is equally fascinating for Franz. He wants to spend his entire day watching all this and playing outside. He doesn't want to go to school and study. But he resists all the temptations and hurries towards his school. As Franz hurries towards the school, he sees a crowd in front of the bulletin board. The crowd means only one thing, that there is a new order from Berlin. Berlin, the capital of Germany, from where all orders and laws were issued. But Franz mentions something important. He says that all the bad news gets displayed there. As the war was going on, all the information and updates regarding the war was put up there for everyone to see. So it must be another bad news, which was the reason of the crowd gathering. Franz had no time to stop, but to see him hurrying to reach school, a villager commented, "Don't go so fast, bub. You'll get to your school in plenty of time." What does this mean? That there was no need for Franz to hurry, but wasn't he getting late? So why did the person say this? We will soon get to know. So Franz reached school, but something was not quite right about the atmosphere of the school, and Franz could feel it. The day was different from other days. I have a table here comparing what kind of atmosphere did the school have on other days and what was the ambience like on that particular day. So on other days, Franz could hear a lot of sounds coming from every corner of the school. The great bustle, that is, Everyone moved around in school in an energetic and busy manner. There were other sounds, like the sound of desks, lessons being repeated together by children, and the sound of the tapping of the ruler or scale that the teacher held. But on that particular day, there was silence all around. You can see on the right hand side, there was no commotion. That is, nobody was moving around. There were other major changes. First of all, their teacher, Mr. Amel, did not scold Franz for coming late and calmly asked him to join the class. Also, the teacher was wearing his special dress, the dress which he only wore on inspection or prize days. A green coat with a frilled shirt and a silk black cap. So definitely there was something special on that day. And Franz was quite shocked to see the villagers like old Hauser, former mayor, former postmaster, among many others, sitting on the back benches in the classroom. Now, why would they be coming to school? The changes indicated that something was wrong or something was about to happen. Very soon, Franz came to know of the reason behind all these changes. Mr. Amel himself declared, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you." He informed them of the order from Berlin. As a consequence of the Prussian victory in the Franco-Prussian War, French language was being replaced by German language in the districts of Alsace and Lorraine. As a result, Mr. Amel will be leaving the village as he was the French teacher, the teacher of French language, and his place will be soon taken by the teacher of German language. That was the last lesson of French they will ever attend. So this was the reason of the solemn and serious atmosphere in the school. And this is why the villager had asked Franz not to hurry, because this was the last day and a special day because of it. It was like a closing ceremony. So naturally, Franz also got the answers to the other questions that he had in mind. Like why were the villagers present in the class that day? Of course, to pay their tribute to Mr. Amel, who had spent 40 years in the village trying to educate people there. To have a final chance to learn their mother tongue one last time before the new master came, and an attempt to make up for the lost time when they ignored learning to read and write in French. Franz now had all the answers. But how did he feel? Franz was shocked, regretful, and sad, all at the same time. There will be no more French classes. That was the last one. How did the words sound to him? As he says, "What a thunderclap these words were to me." The announcement made by Mr. Amel was like a crash of thunder, which means that it startled him. It was completely unexpected. Immediately his thoughts made him regret all those moments where he neglected learning and wasted his time playing all sorts of games, seeking birds' eggs in their nests, going sliding on the Saar, the river Saar. He wished he had devoted that time learning French. He was extremely sad to realize that he will have to give up his French books forever, and it pained him more to think that his master will be leaving them too. It was a painful moment for Franz. Do you remember how Mr. Amel looked very different on that day? He was wearing his special dress, the green coat, the frilled shirt, and the black silk cap. But not just in outward appearance, there was a change in his attitude as well. He doesn't scold Franz for being late that day, and neither did he scold him for not learning his lessons. Remember how Franz had not done his homework? while Mr. Amel was trying to make the last lesson as meaningful as possible. He only had a day to teach them, so he wanted to do it in the best manner possible. He wanted to give it all at once. He was sad as he looked around the class silently, perhaps trying to remember every tiny detail. Not just Mr. Amel, there was a difference in the attitude of people of Alsace as well, who were present in the classroom. The little children who get distracted by the silliest of things, like a buzzing bee, were concentrating on their vowels: ba, be, bee, bo, boo. Franz surprisingly understood everything clearly that day. He wonders whether he never listened as attentively as he was listening on that day, or was it Mr. Amel who was teaching with so much patience? There is a line in the text where Franz looks at the cooing pigeons and wonders whether the Germans would ask the pigeons too to sing in German. This statement shows that Franz understood that this order was unfair and unjust, and he was filled with resentment. The old Hauser, the villager, too had tears in his eyes, and he thumbed through his book. It is Mr. Amel's statements that give the meaning to this story. It will connect us with the introduction part where we discussed about the importance of our native language. First of all, Mr. Amel shows his disappointment with the French people. He points out the biggest problem of the people of Alsace. It is procrastination, that is, the action of delaying something. And what did they delay? Learning. Mr. Amel blames the people of Alsace for always postponing the most important thing, that is learning one's own language. They had always put off learning for another day, while focused on less important and temporary things. They got busy with their lives, thinking that they will have enough time in future to learn French. But now they will never even get the opportunity of learning French. He shows them the reality. He says the Germans will now rightly question them that if you claim to be French people, then you must be able to speak and write properly in your language. If not, then you are only pretending to be French people. But soon after, Mr. Amel adds that it is not the fault of the students merely. There are others who are responsible for the low level of French learning among the young students. Who are they? He blames the parents of the students. The parents who are supposed to guide the young minds in the right direction themselves laid less importance to learning and engaged their children to work in farms and mills to earn some more money. They were to be blamed. The next person to be blamed, according to him, is he himself. Yes, he takes responsibility for being neglectful in his own duty. He regrets asking the students to water his garden and giving them holidays when he wanted to go fishing. Then Mr. Amel goes on to give the most important message of the lesson, and which holds meaning for eternity. As a loving patriot, first he declares that the French language is the most beautiful language in the world. He says that this language is the clearest and the most logical. It is his love for the language that's speaking. He then rightly states that we should never forget our language. How correctly he puts it that if a community is enslaved, they still have the power to free themselves if they hold on to their language. Their language will serve as the key to the prison. As I mentioned earlier, the language is a powerful tool and can act as a weapon against oppression by foreign elements. Losing one's language is like forgetting our history and becoming what the oppressors want us to be. We will adopt their language, then we will adapt it, that is, we will become more comfortable, and then we will be adept in it, that is, we will become proficient in the language, in the language of our oppressors, and hence lose our own language forever and forget our own history. Our identity then will be lost along with our native tongue. We will never be able to gain freedom from the foreign rule. There is a general mood in this story, and that is of regret, repentance. Everyone in the story is filled with regret. In this table, you can see who are the people and why are they regretful. Mr. Amel was regretting for not being more passionate towards teaching. Franz and students like him regretted that they didn't pay more attention and always neglected studies, while the villagers were repenting for ignoring their mother tongue and taking it for granted. As we reach the end of the last lesson, the class had also reached the end. It was the last lesson of French in the district of Alsace, and everyone was very attentive and patiently learning. But the day had to end. A very emotional Mr. Amel bid farewell to his class, but he couldn't speak as he was overwhelmed with emotions. It was perhaps the hardest goodbye. Last lesson of French meant less hopes of getting back on their feet again, losing the key to their prison. His voice choked, and he just wrote his final words on the blackboard. Vive la France. Vive la France is an expression used in France to show patriotism, which means long live France. Mr. Amel knows that German has been imposed on them, and he is heartbroken, but he still wishes that his country overcomes all the subjugation and becomes prosperous in future. In his heart, he still has hope and good wishes for his motherland. And with that, we have come to the end of this short story. I'm definite that you are moved by the emotions experienced by the characters and also have understood the importance of giving value to the things which we usually take for granted. Before I say goodbye to you, I would like to pull out another fact from the historical archive. Did you know that in the year 1878, an act known as the Vernacular Press Act was passed in British India? Vernacular is the language or dialect spoken by the ordinary people in a particular country or region, like Bengali in Bengal, Gujarati in Gujarat, and so on. The Act gave extensive rights to censor reports and editorials in the vernacular press. The British now tracked every regional paper and gave warnings if they thought something was inappropriate. What do you think was the motive behind this move? What do you think the Britishers considered to be inappropriate? Were they successful in their motive? Think about it and send us your answers. This video lesson has been made jointly by Reshmi and Swarnali. We hope we have been able to help you with the story. Feel free to contact your teachers with your thoughts as well as your doubts. Take care. Thank you.